The bell above the diner door rang for the last time that night, sharp and lonely, cutting through the glow of Christmas lights that suddenly felt cruel instead of warm. Snow pressed against the windows like it wanted in, and for a moment the whole place seemed to hold its breath. That was when I saw her standing behind the counter, still wearing her apron, hands frozen mid-motion as if she had forgotten how to move. If this happened to you, on Christmas night of all nights, would you know where to go, or would you just stand there hoping someone would notice you were breaking inside? Her name was Hannah, a name stitched in fading thread above her heart. She was 28, a single mother in a small Ohio town where the streets went quiet early and dreams went quiet even sooner. The diner had been her lifeline since her husband died 3 years earlier in a winter highway accident that no one ever talked about anymore. She worked double shifts, smiled when her feet hurt, and memorized the coffee preferences of strangers who barely looked at her face. That night, Christmas night, she had decorated the place herself after closing the night before, hanging paper snowflakes and tinsel, because she said people deserved something cheerful, even if they were alone. The manager had called her into the back just before midnight. There was no shouting, no dramatic scene, just paperwork and a tight voice explaining budget cuts and seasonal slowdowns. She nodded like she understood, even thanked him out of habit, because when life keeps taking things from you, politeness becomes armor. When she walked back out, her eyes were glassy but dry. Some pain is too deep for tears. I was still sitting in my booth, untouched pie growing cold in front of me, watching her clock out for the last time. I was there because my own life had cracked open that year. My name is Michael, and I had driven back to my hometown after my father's funeral, the house already sold, the rooms already emptied of the man who raised me. I had nowhere to be that night, no one waiting for me, and the diner had been a familiar refuge since high school. Sitting there, watching Hannah fold her apron with shaking hands, I felt something twist in my chest. What if that were you, losing your only steady ground on a night meant for mercy and grace? Would anyone stand up for you, or would the world just keep moving? She walked past my booth, eyes down, trying to disappear. That was when I stood up, my heart pounding harder than it had in months. I told her, not loudly, not angrily, but with a certainty that surprised even me, that she deserved to be treated better than that. I didn't shout it across the diner, I didn't make a scene, I just said it like a fact, like something that should never have been in question. Her eyes met mine then, wide and startled, as if no one had spoken that truth to her in a very long time. Outside, the cold slapped us both awake. She said she didn't know how she was going to tell her son, Noah, that Santa might be late this year. She said she felt stupid for crying over a job that had never really cared about her. The parking lot was nearly empty, snow crunching under our shoes, the neon diner sign flickering like it might give up too. I listened, not trying to fix anything, just letting her words spill out. Sometimes that is the only kindness left in the world. Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about her, about how easily people fall through the cracks while everyone else is busy celebrating. I had savings, a small inheritance from my father, and a skill set from years in restaurant management before I'd moved away. An idea began to form, slow and uncertain, the way hope usually does after you've been disappointed too many times. I went back to the diner to ask around, learn that Hannah had been one of the best workers there, always early, always reliable. Losing her hadn't been about performance. It had been about convenience. I found her address through a mutual acquaintance and left a note in her mailbox, nothing grand, just an offer to talk. When she called, her voice was cautious, tired, but polite. We met at a park, the swings empty and creaking in the winter wind. She told me about Noah, about the nights she stayed up calculating bills, about the fear that settled in her chest every time something went wrong. I told her about my father, about feeling unmoored, about wanting to do something that mattered. There were no promises made that day, only an understanding that neither of us wanted to keep living like the world had no room for kindness. Change didn't come fast. It never does. I helped her with groceries one week, watched Noah while she interviewed at another diner the next. She got turned down more times than she got called back. Each rejection took a little more light from her eyes, but she kept going, and so did I. Eventually, with a lot of risk and more than a little fear, I used my inheritance to buy a small, closed-down cafe on Main Street. It needed work, and so did I. Hannah didn't believe me when I asked her to help me run it. She said things like people like her didn't get second chances that big. I told her that was exactly why she deserved one. The cafe opened in early spring. We kept prices fair, paid staff well, and closed on major holidays so no one had to choose between work and family. The first Christmas after opening, we hosted a free dinner for anyone who needed it. Hannah stood in the kitchen, confident and smiling in a way I had never seen before. Noah helped decorate, his laughter filling the room. Watching them, I realized how close I had come to driving out of town that Christmas night, how close I had come to missing the moment when one small act of speaking up changed everything. If you've ever felt invisible, ever been dismissed when you needed compassion the most, let this sit with you for a moment. One sentence, spoken at the right time, can become a turning point. Just before this story ends, I want to ask you something important. Have you ever experienced or witnessed a moment where kindness changed a life? Share it in the comments so others can feel less alone. The snow still falls every winter, and the world is still unfair more often than not, but every Christmas, I remember that night in the diner. I remember Hannah's stunned eyes and the weight of a truth finally spoken aloud. If this story truly touched your heart, gently remind the world what kindness can do by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, because sometimes one voice is all it takes to give someone their life back.